So, I'm pretty sure that I may or may not have accidentally liked my crush's girlfriend's picture on Instagram. So, instead of having to deal with that kind of existential dread, let's deal with another kind of existential dread. Let's talk about the society. So if you follow me on Tumblr, you've probably seen me scream about this show for the past few days. And because I obviously have a lot of feelings about the show, I decided why not make a video on it. Plus, TRIN LOVELL here on YouTube also did a video about the society. I'll link her video in the description below. You should check her out. She's really cool. Don't really think she needs me to vouch for her. Like, she has like 120,000 whatever so subscribers, and I got like what, 30. So don't really think she needs me for clout. But what I lack in social currency, I make up for with my love and affection. Hopefully. So because I was partially inspired by her video and because I just want to talk about it, I decided I'll make a video on it talking about how I feel about the show, what I like, what I don't like, probably give some of my opinions on the characters, maybe some concerns that I have about the show moving forward since season 1 is done and finished with, and I don't know if they're renewing it for a season 2 or not, but if there is a season 2, kind of like what I'm concerned about going forward with the show, with their having more episodes to develop the plot. Pretty much my overall thoughts about the show, maybe some other little things thrown in. I'm sure I'll go on a tangent, so you're welcome. Also, because I'm long-winded and I just really am excited about talking about this show, I'm probably going to give a whole lot of spoilers. Actually, there's not a probably. I am going to be giving a whole lot of spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the show and you want to watch the show and you don't want to be spoiled on anything that's going to be happening, I would suggest you click out of it for now. Or maybe I'll put some timestamps down below so that way you can click around the video. So, with all that out of the way, what is The Society? The Society is a Netflix original show that came out, I want to say sometime in May. The show is about this group of teenagers that go on this class field trip, and when they come back into town, they realize that their parents and all of their younger siblings have mysteriously vanished from the town. They are met with no one but themselves when they arrive back. They have no access to the outside world. The only people they can contact through phones is each other, and when they try to leave to see if they can go to the next town over, they realize that no one can get in and no one can get out. There is no 911, there is no calling mom, they're reliant on each other. So of course, with that general kind of plot premise, we're already seeing a little bit of a Lord of the Flies type aspect with it's just this group of kids with no parents or anyone to enforce any type of rules other than themselves. You also get like this kind of mild dystopia type feel, especially with how they set up the way that the kids weren't going to be able to leave the town because you figure out that it's just a bunch of forest that blocks every entry and exit around the town. So the only way that the kids would even be able to venture out to see if there even is a town next to theirs or anywhere out of where they live, you have to go through woods. It's like a modern teen dystopia novel, but Netflix special. I'm so good at giving descriptions. So that's kind of like the general gist of the show. Of course, the show is just documenting the kids trying to figure out how to govern themselves and how to run their town now that they don't have any adults around to enforce rules and to enforce laws. And they're also trying to figure out the mystery of why their parents disappeared and why their younger siblings disappeared and why they're here and why they can't leave. So there is kind of like a little mystery element tied into the show as well. So now that we're done with the general gist of the show, I'm gonna move on and give you a character description of all the characters in the show, which can probably take me 15 minutes because there's a lot of them. I'm just gonna go over all of my opinions on the characters, if I like them, if I don't like them, if I think they deserve to die, if they have already died, because who knows? I mean, I do, and you will, but we'll get there together. So first up on the list, we have our main character, Allie. Allie is the younger sister of Cassandra, who we're also going to be talking about in a minute. She is 17. She's been living in her older sister's shadow for most of her life. It's the typical case of like the younger sibling who has the eldest sibling who's like the best at everything and all the parents love her and yada yada yada, and she feels like she's underappreciated, blah 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 blah. As you can see, I have issues with Allie. Allie as a character annoys me. She irks me. She gets on my nerves. I don't like her. I mean, I don't hate her, but I don't like her. I can't connect with her. And that's like one of my main gripes with the show, is because it's like she's our main character and I don't like the main character. I'm much more interested in everyone else's lives and all the rest of the kids' lives. What are they doing? How are they coping? Stuff like that. But you get most of the story through Allie's eyes, because Allie is the leader of the town of Newham now that all the adults are gone. Allie is a flawed character. She's a flawed leader, and that's to be expected. She's 17, she's a teenager. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. I mean, yeah, I get it. But it's also the fact that she's so whiny. All she does is whine. Granted, a lot of bad things have happened to her. Like, a lot of bad things continuously happen to her throughout the show. And some of those bad things, I'm like, you know what? I would whine too. Allie deserves to be whiny in some aspects. But then in some aspects, I'm just like, girl, shut up. If you ask me, Helena should have been the leader, but that's none of my business. Next up on the list we have Cassandra. Cassandra, like I just mentioned, is Allie's older sister. She was like 4.0 GPA, class president, honor student, going to Yale. Just your typical overachiever. She was the leader of Newham until she got shot. Cassandra dies in like episode 3 of the show. Mind you, there's only 10 episodes, so I get it. We gotta move quick, but like, pause. Cassandra deserved more. You wanna know why? Because I identified with Cassandra. I saw myself in Cassandra. Like, not the 4.0 Yale, like, the class president, like, miss me with that. But with the eldest sibling having to take care of the younger sibling and being forced into leadership positions, like that, my bread and butter. I understood Cassandra. Cassandra was one of the few people who had any kind of common sense. She was the only one with at least 2 brain cells, and y'all shot her. And I'm just sitting here like, wow, we could have had it all. Basically, what I have written down here is Cassandra deserved rights. I needed and wanted more. The only one with sense. 'Cause it's true. Why is my mom popular? Why is everyone always banging on the end of her line? Next up on the list we got Will. If you watch TRIN LOVELL's video, she says that she was annoyed by Will and she doesn't know why. I know why. Will is like Allie. Whiny. And granted, okay, I get it. Will has a harsh life. As the only person of black representation, at least I think he's half black. I don't know, he looks half black. As the only person of like black representation, of course he is the adopted child who lives on the bad side of town, who is misunderstood and an outcast and does not fit in with his privileged white peers. Are you sensing a pattern here? Because I'm sensing a pattern here. But Will, like Allie, has reasons to be whiny. But he's never whiny about those reasons until sometimes he is. Like, every so often you'll hear him mention like, hey, I don't have a house anymore because the house he lived in was on the outskirts of town that got destroyed by the woods that are blocking the outside of town. So he's like, yo, I don't have anywhere to live. Like, I gotta live somewhere, meaning I have to live in one of like these big mansions. Like, you can't just like, I can't live on the streets. I mean, he could, but he's not going to. But no, he's never whiny about those reasons. He's always whiny about how the girl he likes, oh, she doesn't like me. Oh, I can't have her. Oh, no one cares. No one cares, Will. No one cares that you can't get your dick wet while your parents, well, you know what, yikes. Maybe he does have a reason to be whiny. Still annoying though. Also, he seems to be a very nice chef. Chef boy, as I affectionately nickname him. Cute. Next up on the list we have Harry.
Some of y'all about to be real mad at me, but it must be said.
Harry is not redeemable. Let me explain. Harry is a fuckboy to the highest of degrees. He's just awful. He's just awful. Literally, he sees Cassandra about to get shot by her cousin, and he is like, yeah, dude has some really fair points. I'm gonna follow him out of church. You're gonna follow the dude that pulled a gun out in church because you don't like the girl that beat you for class president? Like, the only thing that you can see him as a redeemable character for is like his drug problem, his drug addiction, which is like, yeah, that's sad. And the fact that his father died, and like, yeah, that's sad. But like that, the drug addiction is touched upon, but it's touched upon as a tool for the plot rather than as character development or as character growth. And his dad dying, we only hear that once because he was like, oh, my mom has condoms. My dad just died. She must be having sex with someone else that isn't my dead dad. Bad things just follow him. Bad things follow him, and he does nothing to fix it. So it's just, you're not redeemable, buddy boy. You're flawed, sure. But just because you're flawed doesn't make you a good character, and it doesn't mean that you're redeemable. After Harry, we get to Campbell. Buckle in, buddy boy. It's about to be a real wild ride. So Campbell is our resident edgy bad boy psychopath, which he literally is. They literally call him a psychopath in the show. He is diagnosed as a psychopath. I go back and forth when it comes to Campbell's like character. Not back and forth in terms of like, do I like him or not? Because like, fuck Campbell. It's more like back and forth in the terms of, do I like the way you're being written? Here's the thing. Whenever any writer in a teen drama or any writer in any kind of teen media in general deals with like that edgy bad boy psychopath sociopath kind of like mold of a boy, I side-eye it. I just do. The only sociopath bad boy that I've ever thought was done correctly was JD from Heathers. Whenever any teen writer tries to do anything about like the bad boy sociopath psychopath, he's really not good for you, they always flub it up. Either they always flub it up, or fandom always romanticizes it, and no matter which one, no matter what you do, it's just never gonna turn out the way you thought it would or should. Next up on the list we have Sam. Sam is actually the brother of Campbell. We see with their relationship as brothers that Campbell was always just a terrible, terrible brother to Sam. Sam is deaf, and in the show Campbell said that ever since Sam was born, he never had a day to himself, as he then bullies Sam into giving him the house key and telling him, don't come home. Sam, cutie pie, love him. I got really excited when I saw that Sean Birdie, I think that's how you say his name, Sean Birdie? I'm not quite sure. But I was excited to see him be in this because I watched Switched at Birth when I was in like 7th or 8th grade. And I remember loving his character so much. I loved him, I loved him, I loved him. My favorite part of watching that show. Oh my god, I loved him. Sam is a sweetie pie. He's so loyal to all of his friends. He does so much to try and help. And it's just, it's awesome also to see deaf representation and ASL be used in a teen drama. I think that's really, really cool in terms of representation in the show. So A+ for them on that one. Next up we have Grizz. Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason I put him on bottom. Grizz, cutie pie, Boy Scout, love him to death. He's like your quintessential like football dude, jockey type dude with a heart of gold who's like kind of smart. He's like the smartest boy on the football team. He reads. Oh, that reads. I love Grizz. His relationship with Sam is so cute and I can't wait to see it grow, and I just, that almost really took me out. How do you side kiss me? Peak romance. Next up we got Lexi. The only thing I have written down in my notes is Trump? Trump? Question. I mean, I guess this, I don't know. Next up we have Elle. The actress who plays Elle is fantastic. I love seeing scenes where L is included. The subtlety that she has when she's talking to Campbell is amazing. Her relationship with Campbell and how she is being abused by Campbell and how she doesn't know how to leave and she's pretty sure she can't leave him, and just that internal struggle of wanting to be selfish, of wanting to ask for help, of wanting people to help you, and then also wanting to be selfless and not having to put other people through what she's going through by asking for help when it comes to Campbell is like just really well written. I will say that. The relationship between Campbell and Elle is very well written, and the story, Elle's storyline and her character development is also very well written. I am like interested to see and how they're going to continue Elle's storyline and her relationship with Campbell in season 2 and in later seasons. After Elle, we have Becca. Becca is Sam's best friend who just so happens to also be pregnant, and she does not know who the father is. So Sam steps in and he's like, I got you, boo. I'm your new baby daddy. After Becca, we got Kelly. Kelly deserves rights. She actually helps Becca give birth to her child. So I love Kelly. Kelly is a wonderful character, a smart character, a well-written character. She doesn't know who she is, but she still has the sense enough to try to figure out who she is, if that makes sense. After that, we got Helena, the other love of my life. I swear to God, the women of this show, except for like Allie and Lexi, those two, all the rest of them, all the women of the show are just perfect. I love them all. Helena is like the source of religion for the show. She is a firm believer in God, and I want to say Christianity. She also takes on these leadership positions too. She's just so smart. She knows who she is. She likes who she is. She's comfortable with who she is, and I find that admirable. After that, we have Luke. Luke is Helena's boyfriend slash fiance. Luke is trying his best. I will say that. Helena and Luke's relationship in the show is one of the healthiest ones I think I've seen, given their circumstances, in a teen drama. The way that they respect each other's boundaries is very fascinating to watch. They do treat each other like a married couple. They're very mature, surprisingly. Helena more than Luke, but they are still kind of very mature. As mature as 17 and 18-year-olds can be. Then we have Gordy, our nerdy science boy. You know he's a nerd because he has an Alienware laptop, so. Gordy and his best friend Bean, who I'm just gonna lump those two together. They're basically the science whizzes of the show. They're the main two people trying to figure out a way to get home, trying to figure out the science of why they're here, what to do next, how to figure out how to get back, stuff like that. They're very smart, super duper duper smart. That's the characters in a nutshell. That took me 40 minutes to record. So on to what I like about the society. I love that the teenagers talk like teenagers most of the time. I love that these kids are confused. I love that they don't know what's going on. I love that they're scared. I love that they're doing what teenagers would do. Of course, there are always those little bits and pieces where they're trying too hard, kind of sort of to be like edgy and philosophical and stuff like that. Because I think there was like a scene with the guard and they were like lying on the grass and they were talking about like socialism and how it worked in China, but it wouldn't work here. It was weird. I mean, I enjoyed it because I'm like, I can see my group of friends doing that, but like, it's still, we're weirdos, so I'm like, y'all weird, dude, my dude. I also love the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's references. When they were doing the play, they were doing the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead play. And even when they were doing the coin flip in the church and it kept ending up on tails, that's a callback to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Which makes me think, I know they didn't do Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead for no reason. Like, that's a very, it's a weird play to just pull out. In the show, they say that the reason why they ended up where they ended up and where they are is that the town that they are in is an alternate version of the town that they once knew. And I find it interesting that they're doing that and that they did Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, because I'm really wondering and I'm really hoping if they're gonna go the existentialist aspect. The acting performances are pretty good for a teen show. Like I said, I love Elle's performance, Helena's too, and Kelly's. Those 3 acting performances are amazing. I also like Grizz, and apparently the actor who plays Grizz, this is his first role. The acting is believable, which is very important since they're doing such a absurd, unbelievable storyline. You kind of have to have something that grounds the show and brings it back to reality, brings it back to life, and I feel like the acting is what does that. This ends up on both my love and hate list about the show. I love the fact that it tries too hard, because it means that it's trying. The Society is not a great show. It's not phenomenal, it's not spectacular, it's not flawless. It's riddled with flaws, it's riddled with plot holes, it's riddled with things it could do better, but it's trying. And that's why I respect the Society more than I respect Riverdale, because Riverdale does not try. You could argue that Riverdale tried in the beginning. It tried in the first season to do and be something. Sure, it tried too hard in the first season, but it was still trying. Now, what is Riverdale? What? They're just throwing things at a wall and hoping some 13-year-old girl who has a crush on like Cole Sprouse is going to go, oh my god, I love it. The Society, even though it tries too hard with the writing sometimes and it feels stilted, and they try too hard with some of the philosophical themes and trying to make it edgier and mysterious and ooh, even though it tries too hard, it's still trying. And as long as they keep that up in season 2 and in later seasons, that's what's going to make this show have any kind of lasting success, is the fact that it's still trying. Now on to the things that I disliked about the Society. The relationships between characters annoy me sometimes. It feels like they rushed things, and it also feels like they got bored of things, or they got confused by their own writing sometimes. It feels like they would pick something up and they would hold it, but they didn't know what they wanted to do with it. They didn't know if they wanted to put it back down or if they wanted to put it somewhere else. So they just held it and held it and held it and then threw it somewhere else. They just held it and held it and held it, and then they just, what do you mean? I never existed. What? What? I never had a ball. What are you talking about? My hands are empty. Like, that's what it felt like. Harry and Cassandra's relationship. There's so much we could have unpacked there. There's so much we could have done with that. Just for them to go, what do you mean? Huh? What? That never existed. That annoyed me. That annoyed me. The relationship between Allie and Will. Like, what? Kelly's just like, you love her. And we're like, does he? He does not act like he loves her. He acts like he loves her as a friend, but he acts more romantically inclined to Kelly than he does to Allie. But I feel like they're like, oh, but Allie's the main character. We gotta give her something. So they give her Will. The social and political commentary that it tries to make sometimes just feels like a big why. Like, I get it. You want to make a statement. Awesome. You have a platform, you feel like you have to do something with it, you feel like you have to push some kind of message out with it. Cool, but do it well, because it's still a TV show. That's the thing, and that's the thing that I hate about Riverdale, that this show does too. They stand on their soapbox too much in a way that makes the dialogue unbelievable. Like, when Veronica would always make her little feminist rants and speeches, you're kind of sitting there, even as a feminist, you're like, okay, why did you have to say that in a normal, everyday conversation? Like, we were just eating mozzarella sticks, and now you're telling me about how you have the right to sleep with whoever you want as a woman without men shaming you, which, I mean, you do, but like, girl, the mozzarella sticks are getting cold. That's how it feels sometimes watching the society. And now, lastly, I want to talk about my concerns with the society, which is only like a few. I think I only have like one or two. My biggest concern with the society is that they're gonna mess everything up. They chose a difficult storyline to execute correctly for a long period of time. Handling anything that has to do with alternate universes or parallel universes or anything that might have to do with like quantum mechanics or quantum theory or like anything like that, it's a beast. It's a lot to handle. You have to comb through every detail and be meticulous about every little thing that you put in to the show, because all of that adds up. If you just start adding things because you think it's cute and you don't handle it properly, that's when things can fall apart. I want to see how they deal with the alternate universe. I want to see how they deal with the idea that the bus driver was the one that drove them there. I'm so concerned that they're gonna try and over-explain things. This is a show where you could literally say, because it just is. Because that's just how life works. You don't understand it. It's meaningless. Things just happen and there's no way of explaining them. This is a show where you can make that argument and you can make it make sense, because it already has this foundation of this absurdist, existentialist foundation where the principles are life just does. It's absurd of you to try and make sense of life when life inherently is absurd. Like, that would be beautiful to me if they're just like, maybe there is no explanation. Maybe life just did this to us, and maybe this is just how it has to be, and maybe we're just gonna have to deal with it. If that's the ending of the show, I would love it to death. If they're just like, maybe it just be like that sometimes. What I don't want to happen is that the show tries too hard to over-explain itself, and they end up having the characters drive the plot line. When you're dealing with media such as this, with alternate universes, parallel universes, existentialists, thought, stuff like that, you have to have the ending in mind. You cannot let the characters drive the plot of this show. The characters have to remain in the dark, and they're trying to figure out the plot of the show. The plot of the show has to be planned out. Now, granted, if you see different avenues that you can have the characters feel their way throughout the plot, do them. If you feel like maybe we should have, Kelly do this because this just feels right for the natural progression of her character, and I don't really want her to do this anymore, I want her to do that, cool. As long as it does not completely wildly change the end goal of the plot. The whole point of this video is if the society can pull off this plot, if they can pull off this idea, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. No matter how terrible it may get at points, no matter how cheesy and try-hardy it gets, I'm gonna love it. Because they pulled it off. If they can pull it off, they can see it through to the end, society will be a pretty solid piece of teen media. And I personally can't wait to see where it goes. So, with that said, we have reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening to me ramble about a Netflix show. If you would like to see more of me, I have all of my social media links linked down in the description below. If you also want to check out more of my videos, I have them listed down in the description below too. You can check out my channel. I might just link them somewhere in the video, who knows. I am not that technologically smart yet, so be patient with me. Make sure that you like this video if you liked it. Comment down below if you have any of your own theories about how you think the society is going to progress from here. Comment down below any of your own thoughts and opinions about the society. If you agree or disagree with me, I would love to hear from you. And if you want to, subscribe so you can see more of me. You can click the bell to get notifications, or you might not want to. Maybe you just want to come back sometimes and just be surprised to see if I updated. But I would love it if you subscribe to me. It would be fun. It would feed my need for validation, so do it. Anyways, that's all you guys. Thanks so much for sticking around with me, and as always, much love. Peace. The way you thought it. Yes, universe?